Hello friends, Tanya here with another video using Spellbinders, dies, and glimmer plates and stamps. I'm packing in a whole lot of Christmas goodness in this one. We are going to be using a couple of things one thing from the Slimline series for Christmas. This is the Circle Kaleidoscope die and the Kaleidoscope Argyle die. I also am going to show you some more of the pieces from the Holiday Slimline series. This is the diagonal stripes, the striped, and the big dot Slimline embossing folders. Those are pretty exciting. I don't have them yet, but I will. We are for sure using the Friendly Snowmen clear stamps and the Bottle Brush Trees dies. These are so fun. I have so many ideas for them. I'm only showing you a couple in this video. And then some awesome Christmas sentiments. These are the mini Christmas sentiments glimmer plates, and there is a stamp set if you prefer that method, and they create a Christmas sentiment dies. I'm going to start out with this Circle Kaleidoscope die set, and it has a few pieces, 6 pieces. It creates this frame, the inner die cut, inner detailed die, and these circles that layer up to create a snowflake or a medallion. And I'm just taping them all together using the best ever craft tape, which is pretty fabulous, I must say. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to line up these circles so that you can cut windows through. We're going to do something fun with those windows. I cut the detailed piece out of some shimmery white cardstock, and then I'm laying it down on a piece of plain white cardstock that I am then lining up the circles with the holes, and I do it 2 different ways. First, I lay the dies out underneath the detailed die cut, and this time I'm taping the detailed die cut down to the pre-cut white panel and tracing the circles and then just lining up the dies. Either way, it takes about the same amount of time. It depends on what's easiest for you. Now I'm going to take the Friendly Snowmen stamp set, which I believe there is a slightly different version that Fun Stampers Journey had put out that is a rubber stamp. It's got different sentiments, and I believe the sizing is just a little bit different. But this is the clear stamp version. There are 3 single snowmen and a image that has 2 snowmen together, and several amazingly adorable sentiments that you can use not just for Christmas. I am quickly coloring these with some very nice bold colors, not necessarily Christmas. This could be just a winter themed friendship card, a general holiday greetings card. It could be all kinds of things. I'm using a nice teal here. I'm not showing you the colors that I'm using because I want you to be more inspired by the project than the colors. I do enjoy these colors. They are a lot of fun, but they were really just opening my container of Copics and pulling out, ooh, I like this color. Ooh, I like that color. Really, that's all I did. I am adding a little bit of shading by adding areas of darkness, but not like I normally do. I'm not trying to blend from one color to the other. If you watch Cassie Trask at all, she does her shading by not putting the darker color all the way to the edge, just adding kind of a swoosh of it. And I thought I'd give that method a try. You're going to see that in a little bit closer detail here. And you can actually see which color I'm using here. This is the RV17. And I'm coloring these stripes with that bold pink color. I will go back and color the mittens also, and I believe the headband of this snowman. I was really going for that candy stripe look here with this hat, mittens, and earmuffs set. I am adding some gray. Gray is a great color, especially if you have hard water, which doesn't apply in paper. It really doesn't. However, I don't own many white clothing items because my hard water here in our home will just turn it a dingy color after a few washings. So I go for things that are striped with grays or browns or just other bright colors. Now we're going to take that bright teal color and we're going to color this hat and mittens on this little fella. And he has the potential to be colored a whole bunch of different ways. He's got those stripes. You can add those stripes with different colors. You can add white gel pen details. You could add sparkly details. You could leave them white. All kinds of ways. I decided to go with some really bold colors on this one, and I love that little garland that he's holding. It's got some stars and some berries or beads, or they could even be a whole fruit the size that they are on in relation to this little snowman. I used a couple of purples for the jacket, and again, just using a couple of very pale neutral grays. This is, I think, an N1 and an N0. Partway through this, I did have to go back and refill one of my Copic markers because the N0, I believe, was all dried up. I'm coming back with, I believe that's probably E25 for the sticks that we used for the limbs. And I'm going to add some sparkly details with some liquid pixie dust from Ink on 3. I happen to have this in my stash, so that's what I'm using. There are sparkly products available in every single line that you've ever wished for, I'm sure. I just like adding that shimmeriness to the snowmen. Now we're going to add our snowmen. Actually, we're going to add a background for these snowmen. So I did trace the circles of where the windows will show through. I don't want very much of that pencil showing. I just want enough to let me know where I need to put the color. Now these are 3 of my blending brushes that I keep specific for different color groups. They aren't specific to any brand or any specific color, just the color groups. And I didn't add any ink to them. I just used whatever ink was on the brush. And I did a little soft blending in the middle of each of those penciled circles. And they're going to go behind the images of the snowmen. And I tried to choose a color that coordinated with their accessories. I'm going to use some Bearly Arts precision glue here to glue the detailed die cut to the white die cut. And I'm just going around the wider borders, the rectangular border and the circle borders, and that will be enough to adhere this to the cardstock. Now I do have to fiddle with this a little bit because they line up only one way perfectly. And so I just flipped it, and that's one of the beauties of using a liquid glue, and this will adhere perfectly. I really do almost exclusively use the Bearly Arts precision glue, and it lasts a really long time. I did add some dimension. I use coaster blanks. You could certainly use foam squares or foam tape. However you'd like to do it. You can also use stacks of scrap paper that are glued together, or you could just glue this straight to the card base. But I wanted a little dimension. I'm going to put that under a MISTI for just a few minutes in order to make sure that that glue has a chance to set before we move on. I did add a little bit of dimension behind these snowmen, but not on the bottoms. I wanted the bottoms of the snowmen to adhere to the card base directly. And I'm adding them right inside of those little circles. Now, as I get them all glued in there, it just seemed a little empty in that background without a little extra something. So I took the the snowflakes from this stamp set, and I pulled out some Distress ink cubes that matched the colors that I had used, and am adding these little tiny snowflakes in each of these openings behind the snowmen in a similar color. I like how that turned out. That purple was maybe just a little blue, but that's okay. It's all right. I believe this is spun sugar, shaded lilac, and maybe tumbled glass. I think those are the colors I used, if you're all that interested. Inside the card, I am also using those colors that I used on the front for the snowflakes, and they actually look pretty similar to the colors that were ink blended behind the snowmen. And we're going to add some more snowflakes. I really like to carry the design from the front of the card to the inside of the card. I think it really finishes off your project nicely, and you don't have to write as much on the inside if you don't want to, but you also can write right over the top of this design and have it be easily read. We're going to take a couple of sentiments from this stamp set to finish this card off. I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp this on a piece of white cardstock. And I'm also going to take a sentiment for the inside. And if I'm not feeling terribly brave, or if I really want the sentiment to stand out on the inside of the card, I will frequently stamp it on a scrap of white paper and die cut it and add it to the inside of the card. And then I have the opportunity to move it around to decide where I'd like it to be. I did use the banner die from, I think it was the Mini Sincere Sentiments. Spellbinders has been fabulous lately for including a sentiment die with their sentiment sets. And feel free to dig through your stash to find something that works. This is a rectangle die from an old retired Spellbinders kit, and I don't remember which one it is right off the top of my head. That is card number 1. Card number 2 is just a lot of die cutting. I am taking the different layers, as you saw there, with some specialty cardstock, and I am also die cutting 3 of each of these in different colors. I'm using a plain white, a shimmer white, and a glitter cardstock. And then I'm pulling out the mini, that is the Mini Sincere Sentiments set with the flagged ends. And I had Glimmer hot foiled some of the mini Christmas Sentiments Glimmer foil sentiments and die cut those using the flagged banner dies. Now I'm going to adhere these specialty layers together. You'll notice I didn't cut the circle windows out of this detailed die. You don't have to. That is something, you have so much versatility with this die set that you're able to customize how you want to do this. It is a slimline die set, but I'm certain you could adapt it or use it in other size cards also. Now I used some brushed, I think that was silk mirror card, and die cut that. And now I'm using the 3 different dies in 3 different papers, and I'm adhering those together. You don't have to get glue on every single portion of these. You just get it in the around the edges and then hit some spots around. And you can tell which ones are which layer by the thickness of the layers, of the details in the layers. The thickest layers are the first layer, or the one most furthest back, and then it gets thinner as you go towards the top of the layered kaleidoscope element. Now there's a particular way to line this up if you want it to look like this, and there's like a petal type feature and a more triangular feature, and they alternate, so use those to line those up. Now that my pieces have dried, I'm going to adhere this directly to a 8.5 by 3.5 inch card base, and then we are going to line these up in the circles. Just going to adhere those in the same way. Still using the Barely Art Precision Glue. I really only use this most of the time. There's very rare occasions that I need to use a different adhesive. Using a heavy block to hold that in place, and I am alternating the direction. You can either have that little, well, there's a lot of ways you can line this up, but I chose to either have the triangular piece at the top or the petal shaped piece at the top. The middle one is going to have the triangular piece pointing up, and the other two have the petal piece pointing up. And since I cut 3 different materials, oh, this one didn't stick quite with the specialty papers. Sometimes you need a little longer to get those to set up. So I'll just put that block back on top. I decide that I am going to use one of these Glimmer hot foil sentiments. This says Sending Snowflake Kisses, which I think is adorable. I did pop it up on a little bit of coaster blank. I think that's the only thing I use the coaster blank on in this particular card. Just going to center that, and with these medallions and all of those elements, it's really easy to center those. I did use polished brass foil for these Glimmer hot foil sentiments, and I am taking one and gluing it to the inside of the card also. Gotta have some detail on the inside of our cards. Believe in magic. I think that is perfect with these snowflakes. There's something magical about snowfall. It's such a beautiful, especially for me out in the country, it's a beautiful thing. Next, we're going to pull out this bottle brush tree die set, which I think is adorable. There's 2 sizes of trees, and each set of trees has 2 layers. They both use the same stump or base die. And I am just putting a line of glue down the center, or the tree trunk, and then a dot on the tips of each of those little branches. And I used a green foil and a glitter card. So the glitter cardstock is behind the foil. There are 2 layers to our little stand here, and I cut one with a darker and one with a lighter brown. And I'm just adhering that little piece that makes it look like the top. You know how the bark is darker and the inner is lighter. And we'll just adhere that small tree to the little base. So this is the smaller of the 2 trees. I love how that glitter cardstock just shimmers behind the foil. And then I pulled out one of my stash of played with backgrounds. This is an ink blended background that I made with an ombre ink pad from Hero Arts and my brayer, and it was just waiting for a project. This felt like the perfect project for this. I had cut that with the outer die from the Circle Kaleidoscope die set, and the detailed portion out of that same shimmery white cardstock I used on the first one, and adhered that down. And I'm also going to put a little bit of coaster blank behind this one. It just felt right for this one. And again, we're going to put this on a slimline card base. There's going to be a lot of slim lines going out in my Christmas mail this year, apparently. And now we're going to take some of the Create a Christmas sentiments, which I have already die cut with some of the gold mirror cardstock from Spellbinders, which is amazing. It's 2-sided, and it's super flexible and thick, and it just is magical with all of these fine detail sentiment dies. So we're just going to use the Merry and the Christmas. And again, this is a specialty cardstock. It will adhere with liquid glue. You just need to give it a few more seconds to set before you start fiddling with them. Now the Christmas sentiment is in 2 pieces. This CHR is 1 piece, I believe, and then the rest of the word is a second piece. I didn't get this perfectly centered, but you know what? I'm still completely content with how it landed on this card. So you just take both of those pieces and adhere those. I am tucking those above and below the middle tree on this card. Just going to take a little time to make sure that CRI, or the CHR, I think I can spell. And then I'm going to add the third of the bottle brush trees. I've seen these bottle brush trees used so many ways. Ink blended, rainbowed, all of the specialty papers, just plain white. Gorgeous. They are so fun. So those are all 3 of my cards. Let me know which one you enjoyed the most. Do you love the whimsical? Do you love the shiny? Have you thought about how you would use slimline products in non-slimline fashion? I've got some ideas to make ornaments out of these kaleidoscopes and these bottle brush trees. Keep an eye out for that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take a moment to do that now. If you're interested in any of the supplies that I used today, check the description box for clickable links and come back again soon. Until next time, bye-bye.